Raf,
James, what's been happening?
what's been happening? Did you hear this actually probably didn't cross your desk, so I'm happy to impart it onto you, but
Hit me.
there was a small AI music scandal.
There was.
There was.
Nothing to do with me, I assume.
No, it had nothing to do with you. It was
Thank God.
it was actually kind of funny. Are you familiar with the genre and perhaps music community that is post-rock?
I am familiar with the post-rockers.
The post-rock types?
People are still doing that?
Yeah, people are still doing that. And I think that is the load-bearing part of this story. It's that people are still into that. I mean, for the people that are listening that are like, what are you talking about? I'm talking about, like, explosions in the sky,
Yeah, that's the
Mogwai,
classic.
Godspeed You Black Emperor. Like that,
We're kind of like 9-minute long instrumental rock.
Yeah, exactly. Lots of strings, tons of crescendos. And that, don't get me wrong, there are some great albums in that world, and I certainly liked it when I was a teenager. But at some point, you got to put the toys down, folks.
You got to grow up.
Yeah. Anyway, an artist called A Flood Before God.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, an album. Sorry, called A Flood Before God, and the name of the band, putatively, was Before God. It got uploaded onto Bandcamp and got a handful. I'm going to say a handful because it's still a pretty niche community, these post-rock guys, of rave reviews from guys who like really liked it on like Rate Your Music, Album of the Year, or like those kind of review platforms.
Yeah.
And I only came across this when it was revealed that the album was in fact entirely generated with AI. And then all these people went back and changed their 5-star reviews to 1-star reviews because they were mad about it. And I think the reason I find this so funny is that, like, it's the biggest indictment of that genre of music.
This is what keeps happening, right? First, they came for lo-fi beats to chill / study to.
Exactly. It's the same universe. Then they came from my crescendo core, my like fucking explosions, this star rip-off bands.
And they already destroyed metalcore as well. It will come for you. No, look, I think this has always been my opinion, but would you believe I've been going back and reading a bit more Baudrillard recently, which is not very like me. And I've fully come around to the idea that I don't care if something's made with AI or not. I literally just don't care.
It's beyond you now. You've ascended.
Yeah, I've ascended. I've completely ascended. And if people like it, that means it's good.
Yeah. Let me just read something to you. This is a re-review. Someone edited their review on.
This is don't edit your review.
They edited the review. It went from 100 to a 0.
I've been catfished. I've been gaslit.
So the review reads, yeah, so it turns out this was AI. Fuck, man. I was already having a bad night because I kept getting bullied by a streamer simply for having childish interests. Now to come to find out that one of the best albums I heard this year was made with AI? 5 question marks. I genuinely can't have shit.
I think that is a person who might need to go to the park with
cut some grass. Anyway, this has been your down around update on the world of AI music.
Sorry, I'm not going to leave it there. Wait, they were already having a bad night because they were being bullied by a streamer due to being childish?
For having, quote, childish interests.
Is this person wearing a hat that says post-rock lover?
Yeah, no. I mean, again, the general response from the community has been like, well, what did you expect for still listening to Mogwai as a 38-year-old man? Someone was going to defraud you.
Sooner or later.
Anyway, folks, we've had a bit of fun getting that update from the deep web. But today we're actually going to be talking about a little company. You might have heard of them. They've come a couple of times on the Down Around podcast, Anthropic.
Yep.
So Anthropic, they've confidentially, as they announced in a blog post, they have confidentially filed for a public offering. So
Yeah. They're going to open their books soon.
yeah, I'm very keen to see this. I'm very keen to
Perfect.
see the books. I think the books are going to be interesting. But last week we talked about SpaceX. SpaceX, obviously, their IPO is coming up this month. We talked about all the silly buggers that are going on around that. But there are two other big IPOs coming this year. Between these three companies, it's like $3 trillion worth of value. It'd be like the biggest IPO season ever, I think.
It's more than 3. It's probably more like 4, right?
Yeah, you're right. It's like 3, yeah. 3 point something, I think, is the ultimate figure. And that depends, obviously, on how hard these IPOs go. They could absolutely pop. But the other ones are obviously Anthropic and OpenAI. And there was clearly a bit of a race to see who's going to go public first. And Anthropic have kind of fired the starting gun there. It's a confidential filing, so they've given a draft S1 to the US SEC or whatever, which basically means they have not revealed anything publicly to investors. No one's seeing inside the books yet. And they've basically said, we could go public at any point, but when the vibes are right, essentially.
Yeah.
But this is basically, everyone's looking forward to this as sort of like, all right, let's see.
How much cash are these guys making and how much cash are these guys spending?
Pretty much. It's like all the shit we've been talking about for like 2 years on this podcast.
Yeah.
This is kind of when it comes to a head. But to give a bit of like context, Anthropic raised a Series H like 4 days ago, or they announced they had done another fundraise. They raised $65 billion at a valuation of $965 billion. So they've almost at $1 trillion. And you would expect that when they do go public, it'll be a $1 trillion plus IPO.
I think, hey, so much to talk about. First things first, something that's interesting. Anthropic versus OpenAI. Obviously, that's been the big battle this entire time. Who do you think should want to be first of those two? And let's provide some framework for that. That being, the one whose books are in worse shape would want to go first, right?
You'd think so, yeah.
Because if you come in second, it's like people are going to compare you to whoever went first.
Yep.
Now, of late, like all the momentum has been with Anthropic, makers of Claude. Everyone's like, they're killing it. They're like making money hands over fist, all from enterprise, everyone using Claude, but with some grumbling about like their accounting practices are different to OpenAI's, this, that, and the other. Because basically the word on the street was, as of like a couple of months ago, Anthropic is basically making as much revenue as OpenAI. However, they account for revenue slightly differently.
Yeah.
That is when Anthropic tokens are sold via Google or AWS, Anthropic book the full amount that the eventual customer pays as revenue, whereas OpenAI, who does it through Microsoft, doesn't. Now, there are actually good enough reasons for Anthropic to do that and OpenAI not to, in that their deals are very different. However, that's like the criticism, is that they're slightly cooking the books. Again, hence why it's going to be very interesting to see them open their books. But like, again, this could be, either good or bad for OpenAI, because if they come out, their books actually look decent, and OpenAI in a few months' time is like, we're IPOing too, and their books don't look as good, that could lead to some interesting outcomes.
Yeah, I think so.
Including a house of cards falling down.
Yeah, the entire economy collapsing. If you're already nodding off listening to this episode, I'm telling you, folks, the stakes here are that the economy could collapse and you could lose your job. So listen up, buddy. Sit up.
School, and by the way, if it goes well, you could also lose your job.
You could also. That's right. The robot will be doing your job. So best case scenario, the robot takes your job. You don't have a job. Worst case scenario, your job goes away entirely. A robot doesn't have to do it because it doesn't exist anymore. So, mate, figure it out. Cool. So last week we talked about SpaceX. Technically, SpaceX is kind of like an AI IPO, but it's
an Elon IPO.
It's an Elon IPO. The AI is only like one part of it, and many would argue it's kind of like the worst part of that IPO, even though but
it also has to be like, that's also what's doing the
Yeah,
bulwark, the like the lion's share of what the valuation is
true.
supposed to be.
Exactly. But the rest of the company, as we talked about last week, you could go public with just Starlink and have like a pretty meaty IPO. So it's kind of hard to extricate what's what, right? And there's all different
Yes.
sort of things. But these are more pure play. Anthropic, OpenAI. To answer your
Yeah.
question, who should want to go public first? As you say, the reason people bring this up is that one, the first person that goes is the one that sets the price. They're the one that, the next company is going to be compared to them. The example everyone always brings out here is Uber and Lyft. Lyft went first and popped on its IPO day. Uber went second and did not pop. Everyone would agree Uber had like a pretty shitty IPO day. And they often talk about that like part of that was because Lyft went first. I don't think they're really comparable to OpenAI and Anthropic, just quietly. I think it's a different thing, but people bring that up as an example of how that dynamic plays out. And I think there's also a secondary thing where it's like this kind of fear that is there enough interest and money and whatever to support investors piling into 3 absolutely massive multi-trillion-dollar IPOs? I think the answer is probably yes, but there is that kind of fear that it's like the first person.
There's only so much money to go around.
There's only so much money to go around. They can only,
I would have loved to invest $1 billion in OpenAI, but unfortunately, I spent all my money on SpaceX and Anthropic. So I got nothing left.
I went crazy. Yeah, wallet's closed, mate. Look, nothing.
Now, look, so I should actually, this kind of goes back to last week and like explaining how the markets work. Like, obviously, because we talked last week about how there's only like a 4% float of SpaceX going public. That is like, it's only 4% of the total available shares that are available to be purchased by the markets. And I think I said something along the lines of like, obviously, like that reduced supply means that, it may artificially boost the price because everyone wants to get their hands on it. Now, obviously, that's not what's supposed to happen. The rational market hypothesis is that the market knows that 4% is available, and they are looking at SpaceX's, future free cash flows and basing what the value of a single share is as based on that. But the reality is that's not what happens, especially when like the retail, by retail I mean like moms and pops, and by moms and pops I mean people on Reddit, are such a massive part of like these IPOs now and like the market that like they're not doing this. They're not looking at like discounted free cash flows. They're just going, I want to buy Elon company, or I want to buy IA or AI company, information architecture company. That would be nice if people were interested in information architecture for once.
But they're not. They're only like flashy crap that's in the bloody headlines.
Exactly. Hence why like reduced supply will unfortunately mean like increased price, because a lot of people they're not doing the research, folks. They're not doing the research like you or I.
It's sad to say. We're exactly. We read documents. We don't read subreddit fucking threads. We read big PDFs.
That's right. Big meaty PDFs, folks.
Yeah, exactly.
I read tables. I'm running my finger down tables being like, wait, is it? Hold on.
Hang on. Let me just do back of the envelope. What is that? Yeah, I'm always saying stuff like that.
Is that good?
Hang on, that number's bigger than that one. I'm just going to take I'm going to take a screenshot of that and drop it into ChatGPT with just a question mark.
Oh, I see what's happening. Oh, I see.
Okay.
They're doing the years they're going from left to right. I thought the years are going from right. Okay, I see what's happening.
Yeah, see, that's the kind of stuff we're doing while you're just going on r/Wall Street Bets and buying the first stock ticker you see. It's a good question as to who should like rationally want to go first. Like as I said, Anthropic just wanted to get this announcement out the door by the looks of it.
Yeah, I mean, we should once again reiterate like why would they want to go public, right? It's like, they can float stocks onto the public markets and like raise money. It allows them, it's easier for them to raise money. I mean, it doesn't sound like they're having a particularly difficult time on the private markets, but regardless, it's very easy to just like more stock, sell more stock, make money.
Yeah, exactly.
And debt.
Yeah, it's literally they're raising capital for their massive I mean, another comparison, and you would be as a Google man, Google is raising capital.
Yeah, 80 bill.
$80 billion through equity, which is, again, this is just to speak to the size of the build out. The whole point of Google as a company, the whole sell forever, is that they just don't do that. It's a money printing machine. Everything is self-funded by its search engine money. It's the biggest money printing machine in human history. But even and look, there's some financial wizardry going on. They're doing basically an employee stock. I think like half of the sale is like allocated to filling up this employee stock program or whatever. But point being, a lot of it is because they need to raise money to build data centers. We are now like an infrastructure and hardware business. We need to raise money for it.
Which is expensive.
Yep. And another signal there, a big part of that sale is to Berkshire Hathaway.
Yeah.
Warren Buffett's company. Famously, Warren Buffett did not buy technology, missed Google because he didn't get it. He was a 90-fucking-year-old man who was like, what is computer?
I like Coca-Cola.
I like Coca-Cola. And then when someone showed him Apple, he was like, that's pretty much Coca-Cola. To me, that's Coca-Cola. He was like, Google, I don't know. That involves putting stuff into an omnibar. You've lost me. I live in Nebraska. But even they're piling into this because his whole thesis is like moats and bottlenecks.
Yeah. They were piling into this earlier. Like, kind of famously, one of Buffett's last moves was selling Apple and buying Alphabet. That is, buying Google.
Yep.
Sell Apple, buy Google. Very interesting. And I would assume, again, like they have, Berkshire Hathaway, obviously famous investors, historically incredible track record. They would claim a very simple, as you say, like a simple thesis and hypothesis, which is if something is a monopoly, buy it. If something's has a moat, buy it.
Yeah. I think they're like at the absolute bottom of this AI stuff is the metal. You don't get anything made unless it's chips and data centers and build outs and whatever. So that's where we get on. And I think, Google seems like a well-run company. So there you go. I'm sure there's more thinking to that, but that is basically what they're getting at.
Yeah. I'm sure they do incredibly like fangled models, but like you don't have to kind of be like, where in the value chain does the value accrue in AI and have this like deep understanding? If you're just like, this is a vertically integrated company that is doing at every kind of
does it all, therefore good. Yeah.
But yes, Google raising money is quite rare. But yeah, as you say, speaks to the cost of kind of staying in this game.
80 bill, I think, was it all up?
Yeah, 80 billion.
Yeah, that's a bit of money. And I said, yeah,
for a company that's like printing money.
Exactly. They make like twice that a quarter. Anyway, so yes, Anthropic and OpenAI, the vibe on the street, I would imagine just from like an outsider's view that like Anthropic's books probably look better, right?
That's what I would guess too, yeah.
Because regardless of this like fuck around financial accounting that they use, they're doing very well. Like their run rate revenue is now 47 billion a year. That's a bit of money. It's a lot of money actually.
And it's like doubling every few months.
It's running up insanely. And what we might talk about in a sec about why exactly that might be happening. But there's that. B, they have been more conservative with their compute commitments. They're obviously ramping up massively now. Like their difficulty in getting compute means that they now have this big deal with Elon Musk and SpaceX and all the rest of it. But they've been more conservative with it generally. And then the third thing is they just charge so fucking much.
Yes.
Like they charge so much for Claude API. I have to assume that they are profitable. I mean, a lot of these companies have said for a while that they're profitable on the API. And that's something that Anthropic has said. But you have to line it up with the amount of money that they are spending on subsidizing some of their customers and also just like buying up chips and spending money on compute so they can train the next model, constantly be training the next version of Claude, which is a very expensive thing to do. So I would expect that they have nicer looking books than OpenAI, less complex.
But part of that is also would come down to like this whole conversation is one of the reasons why OpenAI / ChatGPT has gotten rid of videos and social and all this other kind of stuff is likely because they want their books to look nicer for IPO, right?
Yeah.
Like they don't want to have all of these huge loss-making things with no growth. Doing a no growth in
Mm.
big 2026,
Mm.
and they want to clean it up because the Anthropic sell is simple. As I said, it's we sell to enterprise. Here is the growth rate. Here are the margins.
Yeah.
Cool. With then like a little dash of, and also we'll be first to AGI or whatever.
Yeah.
I want to get to AGI, to be honest. But we'll pause it for a moment.
You'd like to get to AGI?
No, as in
I've heard
this
about,
podcast.
I've been hearing about it for years, and I just have. There seems to be no movement. I'd love to get there.
I'm not sure we do want to get there or not. I haven't made up my mind on that.
No.
Or if we will. Whereas the OpenAI, to finish the thought, the OpenAI, story is like a little bit more complex. Like we're the consumer thing. We're the replacement for Google, but we're not. We're going to be the new e-commerce layer, but we're not. We got the checkouts, but we're not. We do video and social, but we don't. Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, totally. I think we could plant a flag in the ground and say that like that whole world of like consumer AI as like the engine of growth or the thing that these companies are aiming for is so dead.
It's a dead end. It's completely dead end.
It's completely
the idea of like getting the world to pay $30 a month for a subscription and then sprinkle some ads and maybe some like affiliate marketing on top of it and question mark, biggest company in the world. No, that's not happening.
They're all figuring it. It's all enterprise. I mean, the last time I was thinking about
which, by the way, down round theme. Like we were saying this about Canva years ago. It's like you got to go enterprise if you want to make money.
Yeah, exactly. You can't expect people unless you're fully locked in. Well, I mean, I think it comes down to the fact where it's like Meta can be an ad company because
ads, unless you're doing ads.
Unless you're doing ads as like your raison d'etre, you have a low cost product,
free.
It's
unless
free.
You're free. Unless you're free, you have to go to enterprise.
Yeah, and you can't do that with AI. It's too fucking expensive. But I was thinking before I called this pod, I was like, we talked about the Anthropic doing the Super Bowl ads, and it was very oriented. The Super Bowl ad, yes, it was kind of like a jab at ads in ChatGPT, but at the end, it was a consumer-y ad. It was the whole point was people being like, what workout should I do for my chest? What present should I buy for my mum for my birthday? None of them talk about that shit anymore. That was probably the last time that Anthropic spoke like that. And I was talking to you before. The new models as they bring them out, which is like their Opus, their top end models, are getting better and better and better at coding and like coding harness tasks. But I think they're just getting worse and worse at just like being AI assistants. Like I find myself using them, all of them really, but especially Claude, way less to brainstorm stuff because it's just like become this code brains neurotic, like kind of weirdly autistic model that like you can just feel it trying to apply code logic to everything you do.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. Like the brainstorming stuff, I'll do it a little bit, but my main use is like code and like and making data, changing data.
Yeah,
data around.
Exactly. Those kind of tasks, it's still great for it. I use it for that. But it's so clear that they're like, that's the mission. And I think it makes sense. It makes complete sense.
But I would also say, like, I don't know, maybe this is naive to say, to a certain extent, the chatbot experience, like, is that done? Like, I don't know, it used to kind of feel obvious when a new model came out that like your chatbot experience, like that is going back and forth with ChatGPT or Gemini or Claude, whatever it was, felt better. You're like, oh, this is writing better. That's a more nuanced take. Like it's a more in-depth response. Like I think again, this may seem incredibly naive, and in 2 years' time, it'll be like, what a foolish thing to say. But are we at peak chatbot experience? Like the new models come out and I don't know, and maybe I'm using it differently, but I don't know if I feel like, people were mad about like the new Gemini or something. And I was like, I mean, and people would, and even like the Claude stuff or whatever, it's like, it's different, but it's not like, I don't feel a marked difference between Gemini, ChatGPT, and Claude right now in my chatbot experience. Just like for asking questions and
I think they've all kind of converged. I think it does speak to the fact that it's like not their highest priority is that kind of stuff. Like, yes, it's always going to be part of the stuff, and there's a lot of people, well, like fucking 800 million, more than a billion, like billions of people use it for this purpose. Yes,
yeah,
across all the different models, but like it's really clear. And I think the story is just told by the fact that like Anthropic's revenue started to rocket up after Claude Code launched, and then after Claude Code became better, and then especially after, I think everyone talks about it when the Claude Opus 4.5 came out. That was the one where it was like really great in Claude Code. And that's when its enterprise revenue started to fucking run wild because devs loved it. And then enterprises that hired devs picked up on it. They really pushed into like other business logic stuff, like professional services and whatever. And now you've ended up at this point where they, as I said, under their own weird accounting methods, a $47 billion annual run rate revenue. Like, it's just clear that they're like, that's it. That's the one, which I think is business wise, I'm sure that's great. And it is great. And like, this is the way they're going to be sustainable businesses if, if they manage to stick the landing.
Yeah, I don't know if I've gone on this because I've been thinking this for a while. Like, of course that's the case. Because it is, as we said, like, okay, for a consumer, how do you justify paying $30 a month or whatever? Like, how do you feel like you get that much value? How is there more value in moving to the $100, $200 plan versus a business, which is like, I spend $1 on tokens and I get $1.50 back? It's worth it, right? If you're a business and you spend $1 and you get $1.10 back, it's probably worth it.
Yeah.
Like it's a very clear. I mean, some people will argue that businesses aren't getting their money back, and that we're about to find out soon that in fact none of this shit is worth anything, and it's all going to crumble to ground. I don't believe that. But also, like, what I feel like you now see though is like, and this applies to Google. I think the idea that the primary target audience and the primary customer for this stuff is someone who's sitting there, a solo dev, sitting there creating, like making it write huge SEO content and like setting up 3 agents to do their solo dev marketing blog and like be their companion and whatever, generate like images. It's like, that's not where the companies are at anymore.
No.
All 3 of them. And so when Google is coming out with like our new model, like the new Google model is like 3.5, which is operating at this Pareto frontier or whatever of like lowest cost to performance ratios that, is optimized for an agentic work. And it's no longer like, the sell is no longer like, this is the smartest, this is the best. I'm sure they want that too, but like, this is the best bang for buck. It's the most powerful you can get for the price. I think for me, that's like quite obvious. Like, oh, that makes sense from an enterprise context.
Yeah.
Like that, this is an enterprise play here. They don't give a fuck about the person on Reddit who's like, I did a test between like the 3 things and like, here is the one that like did the best render of a frog or whatever it is. Or like when I asked it, some convoluted friggin' logic question, like here is the comparison between the 3 things. It's like all 3 of them are now targeting the CFO at large companies.
Yeah. No, I agree. Well, we can get into it. The reason a lot of people have been debating this question of what you were just talking about, which is like, for businesses, you put $1 in, you get $1.10 out. That has obviously been like a big topic of late. Because, I think the thing that kicked it off, there was a few things, but one of them was the Uber COO comments. So the COO of Uber came out, and he basically said, this came out after a news story which reported that Uber had burned through its yearly AI budget in 4 months of using Claude. And then basically the CEO, he was on some on-stage interview, and he was basically like, we can't attribute AI ROI, basically. People kind of ran away with it and said that he meant that like Uber was not getting any value out of its AI spend. And it wasn't really what he was saying. What he was saying was like, it's really hard to even say that we put $1 in and got $1.10 in value out because there's just no way to tell.
How much more efficient is this making our devs? Are we shipping code faster? Is it saving us money? Is it costing us money? It's hard to measure. It's a measurement thing.
That's what he was basically saying. He was like, it's possible that we're shipping more. Are we shipping like more quality to our customers? There's like 5 different calculations here that are very hard to then go, and all of that was caused by Claude. And then how much of it was driven by Claude, and considering we're spending so much. And again, this comes back to something we've talked about a bunch where it's like, you pay a per seat rate for Salesforce or something, and you might say, okay, this helps our company's sales team. You know, every time we add a new salesperson to our company's team, all right, we chuck on another head on Salesforce. It's obviously, you know, that's our additional cost. Our marginal cost is just every new software head that we put onto our account. Whereas with Claude and any AI platform, that is not your marginal cost. Your marginal cost is how many tokens your software developers spend, which could be nothing if they don't use AI that much, or it could be this one person is blowing $200,000 a month on tokens because they're constantly pounding it, right? I think this is one of the reasons why it's hard to figure out where the value connection is.
Yes. I mean, to clarify, because I think there's been a lot of misinformation going around, it's pretty hard to spend more than a couple grand a month.
Yeah, no, it is hard. Unless you're like really trying.
Unless you're like, you've got agents, like, you know, you're like, I've got 20 agents on the go doing God knows what, 24 hours a day. Sure, I'm sure you could get through them. But like, as an individual, you know, it's not that easy to get through more than a couple grand a month. Don't get me wrong. You know, if you've got a whole team of devs who are all getting through a couple grand a month,
that's a bunch of money.
Well, which brings us, I think, to that 500, the 500 million rumor that's been going around.
Oh yeah, the rumor that's been going around is that one unnamed customer spent $400 million in a month on Claude.
Yeah, I think it was $500 million on Claude, and an unnamed. It was quoted in it was an Axios.
Yes,
Axios quoted a consultant who said that one of the people that the consultant was talking to went through $500 million in a month on Anthropic due to uncapped spend. But this went everywhere. Like, I saw this everywhere on the internet.
It's such a huge amount of money.
But no, I mean, it's not true. It's not true. It's not true. Like $500 million. Like it's a great story. Don't get me wrong. Like it is a good story to be like, oh yeah, because they didn't put a cap on it, without realizing they just spent $500 million
in 1 month.
In 1 month.
Yeah, I mean,
like that would come out in the S1 filings for Anthropic if they were like that's more than a blip, you know.
That's measurable. I mean, yeah, it was used.
That didn't happen.
It does stink to me, and it's like, I mean, the rumor that came after is that the company was AWS.
Yeah,
and if that was true, then like automatically you start thinking that's something more than just like a bunch of devs pounding their account. If it's AWS, it would be something to do with like what they're serving to their own customers through Anthropic or something. I don't know. The point being that, like, you're right, it does stink. I don't think that's very plausible to do that.
No, I don't think it's plausible. And it was incredibly thinly sourced.
Yeah,
like it was literally like exactly, a consultant's mate. You know, like, come on. I've heard some stories from my consultant mates of mine as well, who's what their mates have been up to, and a lot of it doesn't pass muster. I wouldn't report it here on Down.
I wouldn't put it in Axios. Yeah, you're right. But the reason a lot of these stories have been going around is that
there is a fundamental truth underlying all of it that people want to grasp on.
There is a fundamental truth that like people still have no idea how to deal with a world where there's a service, like a technological service that is charged like a utility, where like you pay for the amount that you use. We're not all wrapping this up in like a nice.
I guess you're right. It's like a utility. I mean, it literally, some people will say it's like electricity, but like with water, it's like, okay, the water either went onto the lawn or you drank it, you know, or like you flush toilets or something of this nature. Whereas like with tokens, like it's quite easy to burn tokens, I'd say, and really have not much to show for it. Like
yeah, exactly. You could do those weird pornographic 3D fruit videos on Instagram. You know, maybe that's what this unnamed client was spending their tokens on. So there's that, and it's also like it's shorthand for some people to look at it and go, well, this is why Anthropic's revenue is so fucking high.
Yeah,
this is the reason. It's not because anyone's found anything useful. It's not because there's an actual use. It's because, like, I guess corporate procurement
token
policies
maxing
have gone mad. People are token maxing. people have forgotten to turn the taps off, and these crazy AI guys who are like pilled are just running up the bill. And once
Yeah.
people realize that this crazy spend has no ROI, Anthropic is going straight back down where it came from. Dario Amodei, you are out of a job, brother. Congratulations.
Look, the truth is somewhere in the middle, right?
Yeah, as always, we say the truth is in the middle.
This is a Sensible Center podcast, so this will come as absolutely no surprise to anyone listening.
Neither of us are going to describe what in the middle of those two viewpoints means, or like what we're even suggesting. I'm just saying that everything that everyone says in this argument, there's a whiff of truth to it.
Exactly, and I will in 6 months' time claim the dub.
I'll claim the dub because
No. The whiff of truth, though, is that people are. You just said it. I'm reiterating what you said. People are wasting tokens.
Yes.
But like, let's be honest here. People are also using those tokens are being more efficient. And we're in the early days. Like, this will all wash out in the end. And like, because businesses, don't get me wrong, like business will at a certain point be like, hold on, we're not using the fucking $25 one anymore. Like, let's have a look at some cheaper options. And then we see what happens,
Yeah. And also, like, over time, there will be probably a whole new layer of consultancies and consultant adjacent cunts who sit around and like figure out attribution for AI. Like, figure out how do you, and like different new systems of accounting and project management and all that sort of stuff.
No, totally. Much like performance marketing, right? It's like performance marketing that is, like trying to attribute every single dollar of ad spend to like return on ad spend. Like if I put in $10 into Facebook marketing, how much do I get back? I would say that was always a little bit overblown on actually being able to calculate exactly where every dollar went. But it's obvious that there are some businesses that have basically fully built on that principle of tracking every single dollar of performance marketing. And there is, as I said, you still can't track every single actual dollar like as accurately as people may claim, but there's undeniably a bunch of businesses and value there. So like there is something there, and I think that this will probably wash out the same kind of way.
Yeah. I do find it. Look, I could be proven insanely wrong, but I think like the implied theory that it's like the reason that Anthropic's revenue has been going so crazy is the fact that there's this mania in the market where every big company that has a shitload of money to spend is pumping it all into AI. There's not a lot of controls on it. People are allowed to run wild with their token budgets. They're doing stuff that's not producing value. And then at some point, people are going to come out of this fever and then Anthropic's going to go back down. And I'm like, I just don't, that does not seem true to me. I find that hard to believe.
I don't think that's ever really happened.
Well, that's the main, at this scale, I find that quite unlikely, but who knows? Stranger things in generally speaking have occurred.
Yeah. I want to finish on the AGI point if you don't mind.
Please.
And we'll talk about Meta and they're letting people hack into each other's accounts by I guess bamboozling their AI customer assistance bot. We'll get into that in the next episode. Good stuff there. But like I want to get to the AGI point because I mean it is a fascinating one from the standpoint of marketing. And a bunch of people talk about this. It's like, why would you go public if you think AGI is like 2 years away? And I actually think that's a pretty good question if you genuinely believe it. I think the answer to it is that like these companies need heaps of money in order to achieve whatever, this AGI thing is. But I will say one thing that I noticed, and obviously I'm like closer to Google's messaging because, I do some work for Google.
You slurp the Kool-Aid, mate. Yeah.
No. But recently, obviously, like I was working on IO, like I saw the messaging again and again and again, many, many times. But what I think is clear to me, at least from like the Google perspective, and I think this is true of like Jan LeCun and like other places, like, and we've been saying this for a while, like this whole like LLMs are probably not the path to whatever AGI is or ASI is, super intelligence, this kind of when the self-replicating AI that like is fully autonomous and moves the path forward. I think like what's pretty clear is like at least like Demis, and I think to a slightly lesser extent, but still like Dario, and again, it's true of Jan LeCun, is like this text-based LLM stuff is not AGI.
That's not it.
Like
Yeah.
making it better isn't AGI. And so whereas things like world models and like Omni and like having these friggin' in your latent space, it's like multimodal and world knowledge, and it understands physics innately without being taught, because like humans do with experiences. That's how you get to this kind of super intelligence who can intuitively, without being taught, like understand the rules, like work out the rules of chess and then be the best in the world at it. Or, teach a robot to be the best footy player in the world just through like its intuitive understanding of the world and all this kind of stuff. That is kind of like not what the businesses are based on right now.
No, they're really not. It's like, I mean, this is like a parallel point, but like, and it's also extremely related to the fucking IPOs that are coming down the tube. But all of these guys have stopped talking about. Well, A, they've stopped talking about AGI in these big, weird, expensive terms as a general rule. And B, they've also just like stopped talking about even the less crazy risks to employment and stuff like that. They've sort of clamped down on any of that shit. Even Dario, but definitely Sam. I don't know if you saw Sam. He spoke to the Commonwealth Bank's AI summit last week.
Shout outs.
So Matt Common, the CEO of Commonwealth Bank, interviewed him on stage in a very weird format. It was like Matt Common on stage, sitting on a chair, and like Sam Altman's gigantic pixelated head over Zoom, like projected above him, like 20 feet tall.
I've seen this at some conferences. It is a very weird format.
Totally. And like, Sam Altman, he hasn't got a great head for that look. He's like he's a weird looking dude. But like, he was like really hesitant to hammer any of the messaging that he's done in the past. It was all extremely bounded by, this is just productivity stuff. It's going to help you do your job better. It'll be great. We're not replacing shit. Human beings. In fact, actually, this is really funny. The example he gave on stage talking to the Commonwealth Bank people that he presented as like revelatory as to why he's being more grounded is that he was like, he said that he had automated all of his emails. Like he had automated replying emails to people using I guess, GPT. And then like it hit him at some point. This doesn't work.
Brother,
there's a human.
listen to the Down Round podcast circa 2 years ago.
It was like, there's a human touch here that I've just completely neglected. And then I realized maybe that's true of the whole economy. Like, this is what he was saying at CBA, which is obviously probably very like reassuring to the kind of people who go to a Commonwealth Bank AI conference. But I was like, what the fuck are you talking about, Sam? You automated your emails?
That's genius. You no longer have to read a single email because the AI responds for you. It's done.
You don't have to, exactly. Bang. You're laughing. This is only like slightly related to the AGI point, but it's kind of like they all seem to be, I mean, they're in this weird middle zone where it's like, we've created this really helpful, useful system that the whole economy sort of hangs off now that is clearly going to be useful for all sorts of white collar work. And we still got to figure out what that looks like and where it fits and how much more powerful it can get. But like, I feel like a lot of that conversation is just going further into the distance. But I don't know, if you look at X, which for my sins I do, all those guys are so pilled. All day I'm reading fucking, we're in takeoff. They've kind of stopped saying that you're going to be left in the permanent underclass if you don't get a job at Anthropic tomorrow. They've sort of laid off on that a bit. But they're all kind of like, the next 2 years are going to be absolutely fucking psycho. And I'm like, I don't know, man. Maybe they'll just be like the last 2 years, where there's like a lot of AI shit around, but fundamentally not that much different.
Yeah, I agree. Like, we're also fundamentally good at just like really coming to grips, as we've said time and time again on Down Round. Like, we're like, yeah, whoa, this is crazy. And then the next day, be like, all right, next.
Next. I'll be, yeah, totally. It's quite possible.
Actually, it's shit.
Within 5 years, it's entirely possible there'll be like humanoid robots around. Like, you'll see them a bit.
Yeah.
Maybe this is a new Down Round bit. Like, in 5 years, I don't think there's going to be humanoid robots in everyone's house. I think, but like in
You'll
5
see
years,
them a bit,
you'll
and it'll be
see
like,
them.
oh yeah, but they're not that good.
Like you'll
Like
see
they're
them.
fine. Like they're useful. Like I'm glad I get why they exist, but like they have their flaws.
Yeah, like you're not going to see one in everyone's house, but like
Well, like even
in
like
certain shops.
like Waymo, and I know this is
Yeah,
predictable, like because I caught a shitload of them when I was like 2 to 4 a day, I would say, a couple weeks ago. And like they're sick, it's great having a kind of party in your lounge room. But then it's like there's so many little annoyances. Or it's like I had to lean out of my window once and ask a woman to move a cone.
yep, you said that
And
last
it's
week.
like,
Yep.
yeah, and then like, oh yeah, okay, I've told this, and yeah, okay, I've already had the rant. It's like already it's like, it is sick that you kind of have a lounge room, but like they're a bit annoying. They could make them a bit better.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
Yeah, totally. There's always something.
which I suspect will be the same. But I mean, that's always been the thesis with Down Round. Like it's like I don't know about this AGI thing, and they already have moved the goalposts. Like
Yeah,
where it's like
substantially.
a thing that's look. You're telling me that it's not AGI? Oh, the self-replicating thing. Well, Anthropic and OpenAI and Google are using AI to make their AI better, so therefore it's self-replicating.
Yeah, exactly. So
AGI achieved.
it's like no, they're asking Claude Code to build the front end of fucking the Claude desktop app or whatever. But anyway, like yeah,
Whatever. Let's move on.
we'll move on. We're going to talk to you on the other side of the paywall. We're going to talk about a really funny meta scam that happened. This is a dark side of AI story. But to conclude the final thing, yes, Anthropic confidentially filed for the IPO. It's going to happen this year. OpenAI will happen this year. And this should be, regardless of what side of the fucking is AI good or not argument you're on, this should be a pretty telling moment because you're going to see
Yeah.
the numbers and you're going to be able to, as we said before, start doing some back of the envelope math with things that aren't just like random numbers that Anthropic have thrown out in the blog post, and you're going to figure out whether it's all going to work. And you're going to do it. You're going to do it with us, and we'll be
Absolutely.
here to help you. Anyway, for anyone who is not a subscriber to Downround Premium, you wound me. Head to downround.net. Check out our new website. This goes to people.
No one commented on the new website, like the leaked API keys or anything. Okay. Must be safe. Must be safe and secure.
Must be safe and secure, folks. Downround.net. Sign up to Downround Premium, and we will see you in the Discord.